This lecture we continue learning forecasting. We continue learning the Y dimension of forecasting. So in this lecture video, we will introduce the last technique we can use to make forecasting. The last technique in this topic is a simple form of a regression we call ordinary least squares regression. This is a simple form of a regression which we proposed a straight line that minimizes the sum of the squared differences between the actual values and the forecasted values. And the equation of this straight line has been represented here. So we have y equals to b0 plus b1 times x. The b0 and the b1 are the constants we can obtain for these two formulas respectively. b0 is the intercept of this line, and the by here is the slope of the line. The x and y are the variables, so we call the x as the time period variable and the y as the forecast for the time period x. So in general, for a straight line formula, we call the x as the independent variable. The independent variable is a variable that represents a quantity that is being manipulated in an experiment, and x is often the variable used to represent the independent variable in an equation. So this is what I call the x. In a formula, we always call the x as the independent variable, and y is the dependent variable. We do not set a value of y directly. Instead, we set a value of x and use that to find the value of y. So we call y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. And for example, the example we have discussed when we introduced the moving average and exponential, the arrival patients of a medical clinic. So take a look at this example. In general, we regard the week as the x value and the things we want to forecast as the y value. Here, because we want to make forecasting for the patient's arrival in week 4. So the patient's arrival are in week 4 are the value of y we want to find. So in general, if we can find a relationship between the weeks and the patient's arrival, which we can use a straight line formula to represent the relationship of the patient's arrival and the weeks. Then for the week 4, if we want to know the patient's arrival, we just need to make x equal to 4, and then we will be able to obtain the value of y. So the key point here, if we want to use the regression, if we want to use a straight line formulas, the key factor is like we need to find the number of b0 and by, the intercept and the slope. And how to find the b0 and the by? For this specific example, y here, we can obtain the b0 and by according to the historical data we have for the first weeks. For the first 3 weeks, and then we use those data to compute the b0 and by, and then we obtain the formula here, and we can make x equals to 4, which means we want to make forecast for week 4. So we back to the equations. In general, B0 equals to these formulas, while B1 we can obtain for these formulas. So if you know the past value of x and y, like for the examples we mentioned, if we know the past 3 weeks x equals to 1, 2, 3, and we know the patient's arrival for week 1, 2, 3, and then we just use those formulas to obtain B0 and By, and then we can obtain the formula here, and then we make x equals to the periods we want to forecasting, then we will know the forecast for that time period. So this is a general idea about what is the ordinary least squares regression. So the basic idea is for us is to find B0 and B1. And if we wanted to find the B0, By according to the formulas, then we need to, here is another examples. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 represent the quarters. So the quarter 1 until quarter 12, and we know the sales. And if we wanted to obtain B0 and By, we need to obtain those numbers, the x times y. Like, if we're back to the formula here, for the B0, we need to know the value, the sum value of y, the sum value of x, and we need for the B1, we need to know the x times 1 and the x squared and so on. So we need to calculate all the numbers here according to the formula, and according to the numbers we obtain, then we will be able to obtain the B0. I use B instead of B1 to represent the slope, and I use A to represent the intercept. So according to the formula here, we will be able to obtain these two constants, and then we will be able to forecast the quarter 13 to quarter 16, the sales. So we just insert 13 as the x value for quarter 13, and we obtain the forecast, the sales forecast for quarter 13. And the same way, we just like use the different x value to forecast the different time periods. So this is how we use the formulas to obtain the regression line formula, and then to make forecasting. But in general, we don't need to calculate according to this complex formula to obtain the slope and intercepts. We use the Excel to obtain the slope and the intercept directly. So here is the way we can use Excel to obtain the B0 and the B1. One of the way is we insert the x value and the y value into the cells in Excel, and then we use the data analysis pack. We connect the data analysis pack under the data to find the slope and the intercept directly. If you are not able to find the data analysis pack here because you haven't installed it in your Excel, then you can use the following ways to install the data analysis. If you haven't installed that, after you connect data, you find nothing over there. So the way you can install the data analysis pack is you connect the file and connect the options and choose the add-in in the left column. So connect the add-in, and then you will be able to see on the bottom we have a manages and we have Excel add-in. They have different choices, but make sure you choose the Excel add-in, and we click go. And here we have 4 choices for the add-ins in Excel. What we need to choose is the first one, the Analysis Tool Pack. The analysis to pack may not in the first nodes of in your computer, but you need to make sure you check the box before the analysis to pack and click OK. And you will be able to find the data analysis pack here after you click data. So how to use this pack, how to use this tool in Excel to obtain the B0 and B1 directly. Just click the data analysis and let's find the regression while scrolling down the arrows here and to find the regression and click OK. And after you click OK, it will provide you a new windows here. So they have three parts. The first part is about the input, the second part is about the output, and we have the last part we call normal probability. And what we need to use the input part and the output part. They have many choices, and I will explain what they are. In the input part, the first thing you need to choose is about the values, the Y values you have currently, because we need to use the historical X and Y to obtain the B0 and B1, to obtain the slope and the intercept. So for the input of the Y range, it depends on what kinds of data you choose as your Y. So we connect this box here and to choose the Y value for your analysis, for your regression. So here are all the Y values for the quarter 1 to quarter 12. So once you choose all the values for Y, you just click the box or you just click the enter. It means you have already choose the inputs of Y. And then we need to choose the input of X. It's very similar to the input Y, so you just need to connect the box and choose all the X value you connect and click enter or connect the box here. And we have three boxes here. If you check these labels, which means except for the data for X and Y, you involve a label. The label is not a data, the label is a description of the numbers here. But because we only choose the data for Y and X, so we don't need to check the box. And also if you want the constant is 0 or you want to have a confidence level with 95% or any numbers you can insert here, then you need to check this box. But we don't need to do that, so we just check nothing for the first part. And the second part is about the output options. It talks about where you want to show the results. They have three choices. The first one is the output range, which means you want to show the results in the same worksheet with a cell, with beginning with a cell. So if you check the circles here, which means you want to show your results, you want to show your output in the same worksheet. And this box helps you to choose which cell you want to begin with your results. So if you want to begin with the cell H5, you just check the cells over there and click enters. And it means the result will begin with H5. If you want to have a new worksheet to show your result, you just check the second box. If you want to use a new workbook, then choose the third circle. And this is about the residues, whether you want to show your residues or not, which kind of residues you want to show or not. If you want to show the standardized, then you check this box. If no, you just don't need to check anything. And the last part is about the normal probability. So if we don't use this one, if we don't, the data we connect, the problem we think about is not related to this one, you don't need to check anything. So for this problem, I just want to show the results with the same page. So I choose the output range and the result will begin with H5 cell. And once you check everything here, just click OK. and you will be able to obtain the regression reports. They present you the statistics of the regression you have, how strong the relationship among the data you want to analyze here, the R square, the adjusted R square, and the standard errors and others. But the things we want to know actually is here. The intercept and the slope. The x value 1 here represents the slope. So we will be able to know the slope will be 359.60 something. And the intercept is the 441.67. If we back to the computation we have before, we obtain exactly same answers with the slope and intercept. So you don't need to use the complex formula to obtain the slope and the intercept by using Excel, using the regression to obtain both of the constants directly. And the second way we can use Excel to obtain the equations, the trend regression formulas, is like we choose the values we care about, the y value here, we choose all of the values over there, and we just insert a scatter directly. So we choose the insert, and we choose the charts, and we choose the scatter, and we choose the first one. Then it will import all the points we have chosen. For the first one it's 600, the second quarter it's around 150, 550. So you don't need to choose the x value. It will shows the quarters on the horizontal line. And then the next thing you need to do is to insert, connect the plus symbols here to check the trend line box, which means it will give you a trend line. This is the line we want to find according to the y value, according to the points put in this chart. And once you have the trend line, you just connect the trend line over there and connect the right on your mouse, and connect the right side on your mouse, and to choose the format trend line, which means you want to involve more information about your trend line here, because the regression we focus on here is a simple form, which is a straight line. So we need to check the linear regression we used, and check the box here, the display at the bottom, the display equation on chart. Once you check the box, it will give you the equations represent this trend line we found for this scatter chart. And the numbers we obtain here, it will show you the constants we want to find, the b0 and the b1, the slope and the intercept directly. So you don't need to use the regression, you just insert a scatter. The scatter chart, then you will be able to find this line. This line is what we want to find for regression. And according to this formula, according to the relationship you find between the quarter and the sales, you will be able to make forecasting for the quarter you care about. So here is the last technique introduction, the ordinary least squares regression, the OLS regression to make forecasting.